You care more than you admit, more than you should. You care what they think, how they look at you, whether your words landed the right way, whether they smiled when you entered the room. And it's eating you alive. You don't need anyone to tell you that, you feel it. That constant hum beneath the surface, that tension in your chest, it's not fear. It's not anger. It's the slow erosion of self that happens when you start living for other people. This world doesn't reward approval seekers. It exhausts them. It teases them with praise and then withholds it, leaving them chasing, questioning, doubting. The irony is painful. The more you crave validation, the more elusive it becomes. And the more you need it, the more power you surrender. Because needing approval means your worth depends on something you don't control, the opinions of people too distracted to even know who they are. Long ago, a man named Montaigne saw this trap for what it was. While others built monuments to their egos, to fame, to hierarchy, to the illusion of status, he stepped back. Not because he was passive, but because he saw more clearly. He understood that detachment isn't giving up, it's seeing through the performance. When you release the need to be admired, you don't disappear, you begin. Let's talk about a sickness you didn't realize was inside you, the addiction to approval. You've been taught your value is reflected back through others. You were told that happiness comes from applause, that success is measured in likes and compliments and promotions. So you became a shapeshifter. You learned to contort your identity into whatever form was most pleasing. You became agreeable, polished, safe, always calculating your next move through the eyes of a silent audience. You nod when you disagree. You laugh when you're uncomfortable. You stay quiet when your soul begs to roar. You shrink in the presence of judgment. And for what? Applause from people who wouldn't trade places with you, who haven't done the work to even understand themselves. You traded your authenticity for social currency, and now you wonder why you feel hollow. You're living in a self-imposed prison, one made not of walls but of constant performance. You curate your identity like a brand. You hide your doubt, your curiosity, your rage. You overthink your texts, your tone, your timing. You edit yourself before the world can reject the unfiltered version. And all this effort has bought you nothing but anxiety, fatigue, and a quiet sense of being lost. Here's a truth that people avoid like fire. Most of them don't care. Not the way you think they do. Everyone is consumed by their own image, their own fear of rejection, their own need to belong. You're not the center of their universe. And the moment you stop acting like you are, you'll find a rare kind of liberation. Montaigne wasn't chasing victories. He didn't crave titles or recognition. He craved clarity. Not the kind you get from being seen, but the kind that grows when you stop trying to control how you're seen. His brilliance wasn't in preaching detachment as apathy. It was in teaching that freedom comes not from winning, but from surrendering the need to win in the first place. You are not here to be perfect. You're not here to be adored by everyone. You're here to live. And real living doesn't begin until you let go of your need to manage every perception. Until you let go of the idea that you can manipulate your way into peace. Control is a lie we sell ourselves to avoid uncertainty. You think if you say all the right things, if you look the part, if you earn enough, smile enough, please enough, you'll be safe. But Montaigne saw that life doesn't play by your rules. It doesn't reward careful planning. It mocks your rigidity. It crushes your certainty. So instead of resisting, he surrendered not in weakness but in wisdom. He accepted what most people fear to face, that life is wild, that people are inconsistent, that nothing is guaranteed. And by flowing with it instead of resisting it, he found confidence not through control but through trust. The less you try to force things to go your way, the more you learn to ride the wave, and riding it is where strength is forged. When you stop performing, everything changes. You move differently. You breathe easier. You speak with honesty because you're not worried about sounding perfect. You act with courage because you're not obsessed with appearing right. You let go of the performance, and for the first time, you begin to feel real. And here's the paradox that breaks society's machinery. The less you care about being powerful, the more powerful you become. Why? Because most people are stuck in loops they don't even see. They chase prestige, thinking it will give them confidence. They chase attention, hoping it will fill the silence within them. They chase approval, trying to patch a wound that never really closes. But Montaigne didn't chase, he stopped. And in that stillness he became magnetic. He wasn't loud. He wasn't trying to impress. He simply was, and that made him unforgettable. His self-assurance didn't come from applause. It came from indifference to applause. That's the kind of power that can't be taken away. This is what true presence looks like. The man who doesn't blink under judgment. The woman who speaks plainly and doesn't pause to check your reaction. The individual who walks into a room without needing to dominate it because they bring gravity, not noise. Authenticity is rare. That's why it's powerful. And that's why it scares people. When you stop needing to be liked, you stop being manipulatable. You stop bending to fashion, to fear, to shame. You become something society can't digest, free. And freedom makes people uncomfortable. You begin to speak your truth even if it costs you followers, status, or applause. You begin to say no when your gut screams for it. You begin to walk away when your soul starts shrinking. And slowly, the power balance shifts. People may not like you. They may not understand you, but they'll feel you. Because authenticity has weight. It echoes in a world of echoes. Montaigne built this kind of presence not in palaces or courtrooms, but in solitude. While others were chasing fame, he was cultivating something infinitely more rare: peace. He chose depth over popularity. He rejected the noise and turned inward, and in doing so, he left behind a legacy more enduring than that of kings. You think letting go is weakness. No, weakness is checking your reflection a dozen times before stepping out the door. Weakness is rephrasing your message over and over so it doesn't offend. Weakness is saying yes when everything in you says no. Strength is letting go. Courage is detaching from the lies you've been fed that your worth is earned through applause, through perfection, through performance. It takes courage to disappoint people. It takes courage to walk away from the crowd. It takes courage to admit that you don't know what you're doing and not care who hears it. But that's the path Montaigne offers you. The rejection of the polished, performative life. The invitation to return to what you were before the world taught you to hide. You won't be tidy. You won't be smooth. You'll be raw, complex, sometimes inconsistent, and finally alive. Yes, that means rejection. It means failure. It means being misunderstood. But you were never built to be flawless. You were built to be real. And reality doesn't disappear when the applause fades. Reputation does. Image does, but reality remains. If you want confidence, stop performing. If you want peace, stop needing. If you want freedom, let go. Let go of the belief that perfection will save you. Let go of the need to be seen a certain way. Let go of the lie that you need to earn rest. Because the moment you stop chasing all the wrong things, approval, control, reputation, the right things begin to find you. Your truth, your clarity, your center. When you act from that place, the world stops shaking you. You become the stillness in the storm. You become the calm that others search for in chaos. You stop echoing what others want and start resonating with what you are. Ask yourself, how much of your life has been lived just to be liked? How many decisions were made just to avoid being judged? How much of your time has been spent maintaining an image that's slowly killing your spirit? And what would happen, honestly, what would happen if you stopped? If you let it all fall away, not to collapse but to rise? Because here's the twist. When you stop needing approval, you become what everyone else secretly wishes they could be. Not perfect, not polished, but real. And in a world starving for something true, there's nothing more powerful than that. You've been taught that if you stop caring, everything will collapse. That your worry is what keeps things together. That your stress is a sign of responsibility. That your guilt is proof of goodness. But none of that is true. Letting go doesn't mean giving up, it means waking up. Detachment isn't the absence of feeling, it's the refusal to be owned by your feelings. It's standing in the middle of the chaos and not mistaking it for a mirror. Most people confuse detachment with apathy, but they are opposites. Apathy is numbness. Detachment is clarity. It's loving without clinging. It's showing up without losing yourself. It's the art of being fully engaged, yet fully free. You don't have to disappear to reclaim your life. You just have to stop surrendering your peace to things beyond your control. That includes people, their opinions, their judgments, their shifting moods. You were not born to be a puppet for other people's insecurities. Most of the pressure you carry isn't real, it's imagined. You've made yourself central to everything, every outcome, every response, every impression. But you are not the axis of the universe. The world will keep spinning even if you take your hand off the wheel. Montaigne understood that. In the middle of wars, plagues, and social collapse, he found serenity not because he avoided life, but because he stopped believing he had to manage it all. Can you do the same? Can you love without possessing? Can you lead without dominating? Can you exist without constantly editing yourself for the comfort of others? That's the strength you've been looking for, not in forcing life to bend to you, but in letting it pass through you without losing who you are. That's true maturity. That's power. When you don't need the world to behave a certain way for you to be okay, you become unshakable. And here's where everything shifts. You don't need to chase people anymore. You don't need to curate every word. You don't need to impress anyone to be worthy of belonging. When you let go of that need, connection begins. Not because you begged for it, but because authenticity attracts what performance repels. Let's be honest, the more you try to control how others see you, the more invisible you become. You cover your essence with masks. You adjust your voice, your values, your vibe. And still, it's never enough. So let me offer something sharp but necessary. No one thinks about you as much as you think they do. Most people are too busy managing their own illusions to obsess over yours. You're not on trial. You don't have to explain your existence. You don't owe anyone a filtered version of yourself. And the truth is, the more real you become, the more magnetic you are. Because authenticity is rare, and rare things have gravity. They draw in what resonates and repel what doesn't. That's not rejection. That's alignment. Let go of the desperate need to be understood by everyone. You won't be. Some people will misunderstand you, dislike you, even resent you for being at peace when they aren't. Let them. Their approval was never the point. Their discomfort isn't your responsibility. Your job isn't to shrink to fit. It's to expand until your life feels like yours again. And when you do, when you stop chasing, something extraordinary happens. The world opens. Your creativity returns. Ideas flow instead of being dragged from exhaustion. Conversations deepen because you're no longer performing. Love appears not as a transaction but as a recognition. And your energy, no longer wasted on pretending, becomes available for building something real. The greatest breakthroughs happen when you finally stop trying to control everything. That's when you start to align, not force, not strive, not grasp, but align. Montaigne never tried to dominate life. He didn't preach conquest. He wrote essays. He wandered. He listened. He flowed. And because he flowed, his words outlived empires. You've been conditioned to believe that more effort equals more results. But what if that's wrong? What if peace isn't found by doing more but by needing less? What if growth isn't about pushing harder but releasing what no longer serves you? Letting go makes room for creativity, for insight, for joy. Think about it. When did your best ideas come to you? When you were grinding? Or when you were still unguarded, open? That's not a coincidence. That's flow. The universe doesn't respond to pressure, it responds to presence. And presence only becomes possible when you stop clinging to control. You've spent years tightening your grip, trying to hold everything in place, your relationships, your image, your outcomes. And how much of that effort has given you peace? How much of that control actually protected you? Or has it only made you tired, anxious, and afraid to let go? Montaigne understood. What matters most isn't what you hold, it's what you release. You don't need to choke life into submission. You need to trust that what's real will remain. That what's meant for you will come without being hunted. That what belongs will stay without being controlled. Flow doesn't mean you're passive. It means you're precise. You choose your direction, but you let go of the illusion that you control the current. And in doing so, you conserve your energy for what truly matters. The most powerful people you'll ever meet have this in common. They don't cling. They don't beg. They don't grasp. They stand in their truth and let the rest fall where it may. They love freely. They speak clearly. They move with calm conviction. That's the fruit of detachment. That's the confidence you've been chasing disguised as surrender. You want peace. Let go of the performance. Let go of the idea that you have to be anything more than what you are. Stop chasing their applause. Stop obsessing over their opinions. You don't need 1,000 likes to confirm your value. You don't need a viral quote to justify your worth. All you need is to hear your own voice again, without the static of outside noise. Montaigne called it retreating into the self, not as a withdrawal from life but as a return to essence. Can you sit with yourself without the need to prove, impress, or pretend? Can you be present without being visible? If you can answer yes, you've already begun the journey. And here's a final truth that will sting your ego but set your soul free. You are not in control, not of others, not of outcomes, not even of your own thoughts all the time. The more you try to dominate life, the more life slips through your fingers. The more you try to perfect your story, the more you lose its meaning. You've built your identity around achievements, roles, and recognition. But all of that is borrowed. None of it is yours to keep. The only thing you truly own is your inner life, the way you experience, the way you respond, the way you carry yourself when no one is watching. You've lived with the belief that if you let go, you'll fall apart. But the opposite is true. When you loosen your grip, you stop breaking under pressure. You become flexible, responsive, alive. The tree that bends in the wind doesn't snap. The mind that lets go of perfection doesn't shatter, it expands. And here's Montaigne's final gift to you. Resilience doesn't come from control, it comes from adaptability. The ability to move through life's seasons without clinging to any one of them. The courage to lose something without losing yourself. The presence to witness the storm and keep your soul intact. Control is a drug. It numbs your fear while stealing your clarity. It convinces you that you're safe while binding you to an illusion. But when you drop the act, when you stop needing to impress, succeed, prove, you reclaim your life. Not the one others admire. The one that actually feels like home. The people who truly live, who truly love, who truly lead, they're not gripping the steering wheel with white knuckles. They're dancing with the road. They're improvising. They're present. They've made peace with the unknown. And in that peace, they move with power. So stop trying to engineer every outcome. Stop trying to hold people in place. Stop mistaking stress for strategy. The only thing that needs managing is you, your breath, your awareness, your alignment. Everything else will flow when you do. You're not here to dominate life. You're here to participate in it, to shape it with your presence, not with your panic, to influence, not to possess, to be real, not revered, because reverence fades, but truth remains. Montaigne didn't pretend to have it all figured out. He didn't write to impress. He wrote to reveal. He asked better questions than the world was ready to answer. And in doing so, he found a freedom most never taste. Not because he left the world, but because he let go of the need to master it. Let go. Let go of the myth that you must always be polished. Let go of the story that says love requires sacrifice of self. Let go of the belief that control equals strength. You don't have to prove anything anymore. You just have to remember what it feels like to breathe in your own skin without apology. You are not a product. You are not a performance. You are a presence. And when that presence comes from alignment, not approval, it transforms everything it touches. So here's your invitation, not to give up but to rise. Not to surrender the fight but to stop fighting yourself. Not to care less but to care better. To care from your center, not your wounds. To care with boundaries, not desperation. Because the moment you do that, the moment you detach from control but remain connected to truth, everything changes. Not because the world got easier, but because you got real.